As always, I'm covering the fake space programs throughout the world, this time with the European Space Agency based in Paris, France. And this supposed launch, I'm not saying they didn't launch an actual rocket, but it just definitely does not go into outer space. And as always, these rockets launch off the coast, just like in Cape Canaveral, Florida. As you see here, just basically they launch into the ocean. Same exact concept here, no different. But before I even get into the launch itself, which is nothing more than a Hollywood production, again, where they show the actual launch of the rocket, and then they proceed to cut off the footage and basically just give you CGI animation. It's a complete joke. And if you follow my channel and watch my previous videos pointing out all the fakery when it comes to all these so-called space launches, this is going to be kind of redundant, but this needs to be shown for the record. Now, before, again, showing the launch itself, I want to get into the occultic side. And as always, it has Freemasonry written all over it, with the name of the rocket itself called the Vega rocket. And the whole entire program is called Copernicus, but this particular mission is called Sentinel 2 for a reason. Let's first start off with the name of the rocket. Like I stated, it's called Vega. Okay, let's take a look here when it comes, again, when I talk about how these occultists operate using the law of reversal. The entire concept of learning how to write, walk, read, speak backwards. Just like in the Satanic Church, they say the Lord's Prayer backwards. Again, Vega. Okay, it's basically a play on names. When you reverse Vega, you get age 5. This is a Roman numeral 5. Just like the entire concept of the Sega Genesis, where Sega is not a word, but when you reverse it, it becomes ages. Just like you see here. This is part of the whole entire concept, how they own and control every aspect of society, everything that's basically like, just like the so-called rocket launch, the launch of the Sega Genesis system. Genesis meaning the beginning, and again, beginning of the ages when it comes down to it. I find it interesting, the packing game for the Sega Genesis was called the Altered Beast. Basically, represents the transformation from man into beast. Let's take a look here. Again, when it comes to the concept of, again, Vega in age 5, when you basically reverse it, just like when you see George Bush with the so-called peace sign. This is meant for the masses, the public, as the peace sign, but this is the Roman numeral 5. Just like Barack Obama doing the same thing. Okay? Everything on reverse is what it means to the public and what it means to the masses. It's not the same thing. Okay? Again, coded. Just like Macintosh, with Steve Jobs and the Macintosh computer, they didn't come up with the name Macintosh out of thin air. It's using the coded numbers into names with 33 in Macintosh. Okay? That's how they do it. Just like prior to the Macintosh computer, the very first Apple computer, of course, based on the biblical reference to the Garden of Eden, with the price, of course, of $666.66. Okay, so again, when it comes down to it, all these, people that make on top of this world, they're all part of the rigged reality. They're all part of the Matrix. And Steve Jobs, no doubt whatsoever, part of it when it comes to Freemasonry. Now, getting back to the rocket itself, the rocket launch itself, and the program, again, with the name being Sentinel 2. Sentinel by itself is not going to be 33. That's why they added 2. Okay, this is how they do it. The same entire concept like I pointed out before with Falcon 9. They don't call it the Falcon 7, the Falcon 21, or the Falcon 3. It's the Falcon 9 to get your 33. Just like the launch of the Indian rocket into space, supposedly launching satellites as well into space. The PSLV C-37 being 33. Okay, just like the bogus made-up story about the trapped 33 miners in Chile in the Phoenix 2. Again, not the Phoenix 1, not the Phoenix 5, but the Phoenix 2 to get 33. Okay, for all you coincidence theorists out there that believe these numbers are nothing more than garbage and, pulled out of thin air, they're not. Okay, they're not. Okay, all these movies based on so-called true stories are all nothing more than fabrication, part of our fabricated history. Nothing more than lies with the dual 33s. In plain sight, okay? It's all Freemasonry written all over it. Now, let's take a look at this footage itself. There are 2 launches, supposed launches, of these satellites in space. Let's first off take a look at the first one that took place yesterday with the Sentinel 2B. Take a look at this footage. And again, I talk about how they basically show a real rocket launch into space. But they cut it off before the rocket supposedly goes into space. And then all you see is, again, CGI garbage. That's all you get. This cartoon world. Just take a look at the footage. This is how they fake space. It's very simple. People are like, oh my goodness, look at that rocket. Look at the thrust. It must be going to space. And now they give you this garbage. Give me a break. I'm going to go back to this footage of the real rocket. Then they go to this garbage. Okay. Now you see the arch coming up. All this does, again, is crash into the ocean. Not go around the supposed ball Earth, low Earth orbit, nothing more than lies. You never see an actual rocket being filmed going into space. Never happens. Now look at it make its downward basic spiral into the ocean. That's all that's going to happen here.
Here at the Mission Control Center.
Losing steam.
The first 3 stages is to get us away from the Earth. Vega's pushing itself away from gravity.
Yeah.
And we're burning the first stage. It's called the P80. That's because
straight down to the ocean. Stop lying, woman.
The amount of propellant, 89 tons, in fact.
That's all you get
on
there.
The bottom left, you can see our altitude is 35 kilometers above Earth.
You see it losing steam, like a bottle rocket, and that's it. It's not going around the so-called ball Earth. Then they give you this garbage. This is why you believe they're supposedly going to outer space, because of this. Doesn't take much to fool the masses. Now let's take a look here, going back in time with the first launch. Again with the Sentinel 2 program, basically a carbon copy.
9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top, allumage et décollage, VV05.
See, people are blown away by the launch itself. And that's all they see, and that's all they need to see to believe in this. But again, they do the same exact thing. After they launch the rocket, they're going to cut off again and go to the CGI garbage footage. Again, it's just basically a carbon copy of the launch I showed prior.
Moving through the clouds, off like a shot. You saw Vega rise like an arrow, surprisingly fast if you're used to watching Ariane 5.
Acquisition de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Saint-Jean-du-Maroni.
My friend Guido here pumped his fist in the air when he saw her rise. Were you aware you were doing that? That's terrific. Those of
Looks
you
like they sped up the footage here.
The Ariane flights know that the heavier launcher rises much more slowly. The DDO saying everything's normal. Ariane 5 weighs over 6 times what Vega does, carries 4 times as much propellant.
Same exact thing. I'm going to stop it right here. Okay, again, this is all they're going to show you, but they don't film any of this. You're not going to get a snapshot of this actual rocket in space. Of course not. Just CGI garbage. Now, let's move forward. Okay, you're going to see a couple of these goofballs on the screen watching this animation. And I want to get towards the end here. I'm going to play a little bit here.
It weighs 25
Copernicus,
tons.
again, said it was all about the occult. Copernicus being a Mason. All about the so-called ball Earth. Enjoying the lie. Look at this guy in the back here with his finger doing the sign of secrecy, sign of silence. If you don't understand the occult, it's not going to make a lot of sense to you, of course not. But this is what they do. They give the little, speak with their hands, basically. I'm going to get, again, towards the end. What I find funny, besides the garbage footage, look at the head of this program at the very end. I'm going to show him. Look at his smile. Nothing more than duping the light. It's a big joke to him. Look, he's looking right at the camera. Look at that smirk. That's not a sign of someone that's proud. That's someone that's That's basically mocking, saying people believe this garbage. Of course they do. The old Masonic saying from Walter Scott going back years ago, "Oh, what a tangled web we weave when we first practice to deceive." Nothing more, again, than fakery. And this is, again, pretty redundant if you follow my channel covering all these fabricated hoax rocket launches supposing to space. And unfortunately, the masses have piss poor discernment. They're easily deceived by a simple rocket launch that does nothing more than crash in the ocean. That's all you need to show is, again, that footage of the rocket launch itself. And all you need after that is, again, basically nothing more than CGI footage. That's enough to convince the millions upon millions of mindless zombies throughout the world that this is legit. A complete joke, a complete insult if you have a brain in your head.
How do you balance science with science fiction?
They're both the same. Science and science fiction are essentially the same.
Thank you very much.
Space, the final frontier.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
Fascinating, fascinating, fascinating.